Well, they call me Sweetness, and I like to dance. Running the phones like Mickey Romance. We had the goal since training camp to give Chicago a Super Bowl champ.
I'm the punky QB known as McMahon. When I hit the turf, I've got no plan. I just throw my body all over the field. I can't dance, but I can throw the field. I motivate the cats, I like to tease. I play so cool, I aim to please. That's why you all got here on the double to catch me doing a Super Bowl shovel.
You're looking at the fridge, I'm the Ricky. I may be large, but I'm no dumb cookie. You see me hit, you see me run, and I kick your pass, we'll have more fun. I can dance, you will see. The others, they all learn from me. I didn't come here looking for trouble. I just came to the Super Bowl show.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Tonto's Demise Week 15 recap. Of course, we only had two matchups this week. It was Detling versus Jim and Gags versus Josh. Let's get into the first matchup. This one was not the matchup of the week. This one was the matchup of the week. WEAK week, as we had Gags to Riches taking down Twerk Kabisik. The final score here, 122.65 to 94.4. Josh, where was your team this week? Oh my goodness. The first and only sub 100 point score of the entire season comes when you got everything on the line. Let's see. Oh man, you got 25 from Brady, 13 from Edelman, 11 from Anunwa, 3 from Diggs, 3 from Rawls, 6 from Murray, 5 from Barnage, 5 from Ajayi. Your second highest score was your kicker behind your quarterback. And the Bengals D, I think they got you about 7, if I remember correctly. So 94.4 for Twerk Kabisik this week. I'm not sure what saved Gags' team there. Probably Ezekiel Elliott getting 150 yards and a touchdown. Personally, I think if both of you would have scored less than 100, you should have both been eliminated, gone from the playoffs, and both Jim and Detling should have played each other again in Week 16 for the Tonto Bowl if you had both scored less than 100. All right, for Gags' team, but the tradition continues this year of Gags facing little to no competition, which I've mentioned several times before. Even though Gags only scored 122 points this week, he won by almost 30. I'm sorry, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, Gags' team, he had Dalton with 27, Antonio Brown 8.5, Demaryius Thomas 16, Rashard Matthews 12.5, Zeke, he had 14, 24, about 25. He went with Adrian Peterson over Frank Gore. Peterson, only 20 yards, and he lost a fumble. He actually only got you 0.2. Kelsey, 7 points. Devontae Adams, 4.5. Gostowski, 11. And your Jets defense, I believe, actually ended up with 10, if I remember correctly. So, Ezekiel Elliott was your leading scorer. Your quarterback did even worse than your running back. And let's see, really not much else all up and down that roster here this week for both teams. So lucky for Gags that he faced Josh this week, because he would have lost to pretty much any other team who would have been playing if they'd made the playoffs or not. But yikes. Gags, fortunately for him, in that bye week, he comes in to week 15 and faces just rolls right into the Tonto Bowl with little to no resistance here. Knocking out Twerk. Let's see. Really not much else to say about that one. The next matchup was actually pretty decent, although Detling had a pretty good advantage here going into Monday night, as he only needed about, 54 points going into Monday night, and he had Cousins and D. Jackson and Jonathan Stewart and Greg Olsen. So he had 4 guys, including his quarterback, who only needed 53 points, while Mighty Midgets, he did have Jamison Crowder, was hoping that Kirk Cousins would maybe find him a little bit more, get some good yardage and a touchdown or two, but that was not to be, as Crowder did pretty much nothing. And the final score here ended up being Detling's team 177.35 to Mighty Midgets 139.4. I'm trying to think of a name to, instead of just calling it Detling's team anymore. I don't feel like pronouncing this stupid name that he's come up with here, but I'm just gonna call it Dumb Spirograph. You guys remember what Spirograph is, or am I too? I think we're all old enough to remember Spirograph. So your new team name is Dumb Spirograph. Anyway, the matchup was Cousins versus Rogers. This was a point of contention here for Jim's team, as he had Aaron Rodgers and was hoping for a big game from him, and he failed to pick up Ty Montgomery from the waiver wire. I guess he was going to pick him up and plug him in at the running back position, because he was in desperate need this week with, Forte not really doing too well. I don't know if he's injured or not, and he pretty much had nobody else. So, but he ended up not getting Montgomery and going with Farrow from San Diego. And of course, Montgomery ended up with about 30 points, a little bit more than that this week, while Farrow only got, thanks to his lost fumble, he only got you about 2. So there was a pretty big difference there. Fortunately for Mighty Midgets, he'll be able to rest easy in the offseason, because not getting Ty Montgomery did not get, if you had gotten Ty Montgomery, you still would have lost if you had played him and gotten all those points. It wasn't enough here to cover the 38 point margin of victory here by Detling, by Dumb Spirograph. Receivers, Detling had Jordy, Cooper, and Djax. Let's see, they had 19, 4, and 18 respectively. While Midgets, he needed Allen Robinson, who has been extremely hit or miss this year, to come through in a big way. And unfortunately, it was a miss this week. Only 3.5 points. Des Bryant, 16.2. And again, Jamison Crowder said he didn't do too much. He had 6.4, but he lost a fumble too, and that cost you a couple points. So he only got you 4.5. Running backs, Dumb Spirograph had Stewart, as I mentioned, and Dixon. Stewart, he was no touchdowns, but he was over 100 yards. He got you 16 points. Dixon, 36 yards rushing and a touchdown, so about 9.5 there. Midgets running backs, Carlos Hyde, looks like he had 70 yards, but he also lost a fumble, so only 5 points there. And again, Farrow, all your guys lost fumbles this week. Crowder, Hyde, Farrow. Let's see. So again, Farrow only got you just under 2. Tight ends, pretty good matchup. Olsen versus Delaney Walker. Olsen 14.5 to Walker's 11.5. flex plays, Dumb Spirograph only got 1.9 from Tyler Eifert, while Mighty Midgets, David Johnson doing his same old thing, 26.8 points for him. So, let's see. Pretty on par with his usual scores here, like getting you between 25 to 30 there points a week. Let's see. Kickers were pretty even. Tucker versus Sturgis, each one kicked a bunch of field goals. Yahoo says 12 to 11 in favor of Tucker. And then defenses, probably, let's see. I was going to say this might have been the biggest factor in determining the win here for Dumb Spirograph, because Seattle, Yahoo says 13, but I believe the actual total was 34. And Mighty Midgets had to go with Atlanta, who Yahoo says 11. And I want to say it was closer to 20. They did give up. They didn't really get a lot of sacks or turnovers, and they did okay points-wise, but I think they gave up a lot of yardage, so they didn't do too great. So it's probably at least a 12 to 13, about 12 to 15 point difference there in favor of Dumb Spirograph for the defensive spot there. So, said Cousins beat Rogers by about 13. Let's see. Said your wide receivers, Midgets, you those two really low scores. Let's see. Deshaun Jackson and Dez Bryant pretty much canceled each other out, and but that leaves Jordy Nelson, who doubled up your other two wide receivers put together. So that was pretty much it. I mean, Mighty Midgets got dominated pretty much everywhere except for the flex play. David Johnson there again versus Eifert's only 2. But not enough here for Mighty Midgets. He was the number 2 seed, had the bye week last week, but could not taste a victory this week and move on to his second Tonto Bowl. Instead, we've got Dumb Spirograph, Matt Detling, moving on to another Tonto Bowl. I'm sure he'll be sure to tell us in the podcast this week that he has made more Tonto Bowls, even though he's only won 2, than anybody else. That, I guess apparently what really matters is just getting to the title game. Everybody, are you the early 90s Buffalo Bills of Tonto's demise? I don't know. Getting there, but you can't quite get over the hump here. So, but maybe this will be the year. I don't know. So next week we have Tonto Bowl 14, which will feature Matthew Detling versus Michael Golden Boy, Gags, the Fry Cook, the Garbage Man. Let's see. Should we preview their matchup? And I don't really feel like doing that. It's not my place, I know Brian said, feel free, go ahead, I appreciate your insight, blah, 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 but I'm not going to do that. So week 16, Tonto Bowl 14, we have from Gags to Riches, the number 1 seed, a 25-point favorite, according to Yahoo right now, versus Matthew Detling, Dumb Spirograph. So, the only thing I can really think of here to finish off this recap and preview the Tonto Bowl is it's Christmas time. Some of you may know that we've been doing some pretty heavy Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas song at work here at the restaurant, driving some people crazy, seeing if we can test some patience and see if we can push people maybe over the edge. Because I'm pretty sure most people that work there with us are already pretty close to the edge anyway. So, in honor of Matthew Detling, Michael Gags, however you want to, Michael Golden, the Golden Boy, the what else do you call it? The Bull, I believe he calls himself. Hence the Little Mac pictures every now and then. So, I present to you guys in the style of the Chipmunks, Please Christmas, Don't Be Late. We've got a little song here for both teams who are in Tonto Bowl 14. First, we've got Dumb Spirograph. Here we go. All right. Cousins, cousins, time of need. Throw to D, Jack's not to read. He's got Olson and Stewart. He's praying they don't get hurt. Geordie, Eifert, Dixon, Cooper. Each a touchdown would be super. Tonto Bowl, we've got a date. Please see Hawks make me great. That was for you, Detling. Merry Christmas. And this one is for you, Gags. Mr. Golden. All right. All right. Kelsey, Kelsey, my tight end. Devontae Adams, be my friend. Cam Newton, I need a hand. Please don't fail me, Superman. With Julio and Brown and Zeke, it's another ring I seek. A Tonto Bowl I'm here to get. Please, Pats D, crush the Jets. There you go, Gags. Merry Christmas in my probably horrible, tone-deaf, awful, completely out of key, whatever the description of negative critique that you could think of to describe singing. That was pretty much what you just got there. So, all right, Tonto Bowl 14. Hope you enjoyed the little Super Bowl shuffle there to start off the recap. So that's it. I don't know what we'll do next week, if we'll do a little recap, because there's really only one game that matters. We do have the third place game, which will feature Josh versus Jim. It is, I guess it's of a little bit importance, because you do win your money back, whoever gets that third place. But anyway, there will be two matchups to recap next week, but only one, of course, that really matters, I think, to anybody. Well, there's only one matchup next week to talk about that anyone's going to remember. So at least, if not a recap, maybe I'll think about the season in general, maybe do a little recap. I think I did that last year. It ended up going on for like a 2-hour video, and I don't think anybody really cared enough to watch it. So we'll see. I think I went through everybody's teams and kind of looked through the draft and all sorts of things to see, like, knowing now if we had known then what we know now, how things might have been different, what some of the best picks from each round ended up being, a little bit, just things like that. So I'll think about it. I've got a week, but of course this weekend is going to be Christmas, so I will be doing some traveling. Don't know when I will be able to actually do the recap or get it up, because I will be out at the Crick's house from Christmas till probably Tuesday. So it'll be at least probably, it's going to be at least probably, I would say, at least more than a week from now till any kind of recap goes up. It's probably closer to New Year's until a real recap goes up, if I decide to do anything here. So anyway, happy holidays to everybody. Merry Christmas. I assume most of you, being non-Muslim, non-Jewish, all those different things. I was going to say happy holidays. Like I said, of course, you say happy holidays, which is blankets everybody, so I'm not here to offend. If Christmas is your thing, and I think it's most of our things, then Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. But good luck to the guys who are in the Tonto Bowl. One of you is going to feel glory, and I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with the trophy. If I'm going to, how we're going to do a little trophy presentation, because I don't really want to wait until next year to actually, or the draft, to actually present the winner with the trophy. I think you deserve a little bit sooner than that, so that'll be something else to think about here. So, all right, enough of my rambling, and good luck to Detling and Mr. Golden in the Tonto Bowl 14. All right, guys, thanks again. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.